Hi guys, Ren here and welcome to the workshop. Today I have quite a special bike build for you, which is based on a custom factor Ostro VAM frame and some other cool parts. So without any further ado, let's unpack the frame and let's have a look what is going to go on it. So, as I said in my previous videos, this new factor Ostro VAM version 2 is a really cool frame set, and I was actually considering it for my own use. And to be frank, oftentimes I think that it would have probably been a better choice. It certainly is in some aspects. So today I'm going to show you all about it. So right now the first thing that came out of the box already with the aero-shaped bottle cages that come with the frame set, made by Blacking, of course, the in-house brand of Factor. And here you go, the accessory box. And this right now is the frame itself. So you might actually be familiar with the colors. So the customer chose it on basically based on the inspiration that I gave him or her more specifically from the bike that I had built up previously. It's kind of this turquoise and pink. It's called Giro Pink, but honestly I don't think it looks like that, but anyway, it looks cool. And with this new addition, even the handlebar is painted to match, so that's a really cool touch. And also it has a gloss finish instead of a standard matte one, so that's really nice as well. So as you may know, the Ostro VAM was a bike that I really liked. I mean, the first generation I rode it for 2 years, almost 3 in fact, and this is an evolution of that. Essentially it's more focused on aerodynamics. It uses advantage or takes advantage of the new UCR rules and use some pretty radical shapes, as factor frames tend to do. Use a T47 bottom bracket as always, and yeah, it's basically kind of an all-round race bike, relatively lightweight, around 900 grams for the frame set, although this paint might add a few grams to that, but yeah, weight's not that important anyway. It also has a redesigned seat clamp, which was a big problem with previous factor bikes with the seat post that tend to slip. We had also had to make a specific product to address that, but as far as I know, these new ones don't suffer from the same issue. So let's unpack this and have a look at the shapes of the frame and how it looks. So here we have the frame in its full glory and its striking paint job. So the main differences between the old version and this one are, I would say, the seat tube and top tube area and plus the head tube. So this has been slimmed down quite significantly for improved aerodynamics. As you can see, it looks really sleek as well. The down tube, the shaping here is really quite similar to the previous version, along with the bottom bracket area, still very beefy and still uses the T47 standard, as I said. And yeah, this is also where the new bottle cage is going. They perfectly match the shape of the frame. So yeah, actually there's a separate one for the seat tube to match this shape, and one for the down tube. So yeah, really neatly integrated. I would like to see more of this on other frames to make them a bit more optimized aerodynamically. Another striking feature is the top tube that narrows down almost to nothing, basically. Here at this point, this is probably done to save weight. Then, as per the newer UCR rules and the trend that's emerging now from the Pinarello, from the Tarmac, and a lot of other bikes, We get the narrowed down seat post. As you can see, this one also is extremely slim now and also paint matched to this color, so that's a nice touch as well. Here we have the zero offset version for this particular bike fit. Always before building a bike like this, particularly with the integrated cockpit, we do a bike fit to make sure that all of the measurements will be correct when the bike is built. So the rear of the frame, again, very beefy chainstays on both sides. This is actually pretty similar to the old frame, and the signature factor kind of pencil shaped seat stays as well to aid comfort and compliance. So yeah, the new seat post binder is actually very similar to what Pinarello use. So you got a kind of a backing plate that sits inside at the back of the seat post, and you press that on using 2 bolts from the back. So that one is admittedly a lot more secure than the previous one in the plastic wedge. I didn't really like that. An interesting fact that I just noticed is now that the front mech hanger has an adjustable angle. This has probably a lot to do with the new Sram Red AXS front aero, where the old one needed shims to make it work properly. And actually, we even built an older frame of this same type just last year, and it didn't have this. So yeah, an interesting touch. Another thing that wasn't here before on Prisma Studio bikes is this little badge, as you can see here now. Also a nice touch. And nice little detail that's been added. The rear derailleur hanger, the through axle hardware, it's all the same as on all factor bikes. They didn't go on trend with the new hidden through axle nut or through axle thread, which doesn't look as sleek, admittedly, but this can be easily replaced. So in case you cross-thread it or something goes wrong with it, you can just replace it. Although I have to say, in my experience, I never had to do that. You'd have to be pretty wonky with something to achieve a failure there, but still, it's a good peace of mind that it's possible. Then we have the handlebar as well. So this is the blacking aero cockpit as you get with these bikes. It's not really specific to this bike because it can be used elsewhere, for example, even on a tarmac, like I've shown you earlier. This has also been paint matched. Normally you get a matte black finish and the standard blacking logo. Here we have a gloss finish to match the frame, and of course the color matched logo here. This particular unit is a 130mm stem and 380mm wide bar, so pretty aggressive setup. And one thing I'm not really sure about is you can see the bar has an outward kink, and it did have a flare always, but it wasn't shaped like this if I remember correctly, so maybe that's a tiny update as well, but as I said, I'm not really sure about this right now. Seems a bit different, maybe it's just the paint. And also here you can see the stopper for the steer spacer, so everything is nice and aligned, and this is the port where the brake hoses will go in, and of course you get an integrated computer mount that goes on here. Okay, so that's pretty much the frame set. Obviously we get the accessory pack as well, and it's quite generous with all factor bikes, and this one is no exception. So we got bar tape, we've got the specific expansion plug that goes in the fork. The fork steer shape is the same as on the previous Ostro VAM, so it's kind of a D shape with these little 2 kinks. So it's almost basically round with this little groove on the front that houses the brake hoses. The shape of the fork in itself has been slightly updated, of course. Also a bit slimmed down, but in general it's really quite close to the previous generation. The headset also has been slightly updated, so you get shaping that matches the head tube of the bike. Again, you have the low stack version and the taller stack version of these headset top caps. Then you have the computer mount, as I said, with the option of a single mount or a double mount for light, camera, etc. Then, because of the narrowing of the seat posts, we also have an integrated battery mount that, as with many frames these days, goes inside the bottom of the bottom bracket. Then we have a chain stain protection, rubber strip tape. This is a really nice touch. It comes with factor bikes. Then we have a rubber protecting sleeve or gasket for the seat post. Some headset spacers. We also have clamps for the seat post. This one is for 7x7mm round seat rails or saddle rails. And yeah, that's the disadvantage probably of the single bolt clamping mechanism, that you have to change these if you go for a different saddle. Then we have a Ceramic Speed SLT headset, which is a good addition on a bike like this, because it just prolongs the service life of the headset, so you don't need to strip the bike that often. We have some little bolts and rubber grommets, and actually I really like the bottom bracket arrangement on these bikes. It's really quite clever. So you get a T47 Ceramic Speed bottom bracket, as I said. Obviously, this being an OEM product, it doesn't use the higher end Ceramic Speed coated bearings, unfortunately. I don't know why that is. But the clever thing about it is that it can be used for all available spindle types. So this is a 6806 bearing in there, so large diameter bearing, the 30mm internal diameter. And of course, you can use that straight away with 30mm spindles. You just need some dust covers. Then you can use these smaller reducers to fit a SRAM depth crank, which we are going to use now. And you can use a different reducer to use a 24mm crank, to use a Shimano or other crank with a 24mm spindle. So yeah, you get basically all options in one kind of modular package. So I really like that. Gives you tons of options. And because of all of these things I mentioned, I think this bike is just, or frame set is just an excellent value, because the price for all this is basically the same as you pay for an SL8 frame set on its own without any of these. So yeah, and it's a really nicely made bike, really high performance, rides really well, and yeah, that's why I said that arguably in some options or some variables it's a better bike. As for the rest of the parts, conversely, we're going to use an S-Works palm mirror saddle. This is just a preference of the owner. So it doesn't really match the picture brand-wise, but it's a cool product. It's a proven performer, really comfortable, and yeah, a lot of people tend to like these short saddles. So that's what we're going to use here. And the Groupset basically is a full-on Sram Red E1 Groupset, vastly improved from the previous generation. Still wouldn't be my choice over the race, but again, customer preference. The new brake levers are pretty damn excellent. So you have the levers here. Brake rotors, 160-140 combination. Then we have the red E1 front mech, which again has been vastly improved compared to the old generation. And we have the rear mech. These aluminum polished surfaces look really cool on a bike like this, so that will be a nice match aesthetically. Same for the brake calipers, also really nice. Then we have the chainring and crank combination. So the crank will be a 165, again red E1 crank, as established by our bike fitting session prior to the build of the bike. This is going to be paired with a set of 4835 chainrings, non-power meter version, because the owner will use power meter pedals. And then we'll use this rainbow anodized cassette just to match the frame. I think it's a really nice finishing touch as well. And of course, on there will also go matching rainbow colored chain, which you still need to degrease and wax. So yeah, that's pretty much it component wise. The wheels are going to be carried over from her previous bike, a set of DT Swiss ERC wheels. So these will finish up the build, and that's basically what we're working with today. So without any further ado, let's get the bike rolling. Okay guys, so now the Factor is almost ready. Not 100% finished yet, because unfortunately we'll not be able to do the video when that is happening and it's fully completed. Right now the position is not yet set up, so I need to set it up in the jig, and also we don't have a chain on as it's being prepared for waxing. So this means that the shifting and the drivetrain in general is not adjusted yet. However, the brakes and the wheels, everything else is set up already, so at least I can show you how the bike will look. And I have to say, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Yeah, this frame just really looks really cool. The shaping, the aerodynamics, everything seems to be spot on. I'm actually quite a fan. I also brought my SL8 here for comparison, so you can see the two side to side. One thing I'm not really happy with regarding this build is the wheel set. Now the owner wanted to stick to it because they do a lot of climbing races with her husband, and yeah, they said that this is a really light wheel set. Actually, it isn't. It's around 1400 grams, and it's really quite narrow as well, and as you can see, extremely shallow, which firstly optically doesn't really match with this frame. And nowadays you have 60 or even 60 millimeter or even deeper wheels that are much lighter than this. So I don't know, me personally, I'm not a fan of DT Swiss wheels in general, because they use really tiny bearings in their hubs and that creates issues. So yeah, despite that fact, I really like this bike. It's also nicely matches with the SRAM Groupset. Actually, it looks really good on a lot of modern bikes, as these, as I said in the beginning, these machined aluminum parts and polished are a really nice match, particularly with a flashy paint job like this one. And yeah, this is a bike that will definitely stand out. So now that the bike is complete, the frame shaping is even more prominent, I think, and it just has an extremely narrow frontal area right here in the head tube, nice hourglass shape, and the seat post is also extremely thin. I would say much thinner even than the SL8. So yeah, really low aero profile. Obviously, this is not the lightest bike build. It's not as light as the SL8 because the frame itself is around 300 grams heavier, probably 400 if we count the whole frame set. And this paint job, which is again going to add a bit of weight, so actually the complete weight I would imagine would be around 7.2 to 7.4 kilograms. With this wheel set, obviously you can go lighter with the Derimo seat post and the proper wheels, and it's going to have power meter pedals on well, which are also not the lightest. So anyway, the main point of this video was to show you the frame set and maybe in comparison for these two, which again would have been my two choices probably for myself. And yeah, as I said in the beginning, I sometimes wonder whether I should have gone for the Factor. I like both really. I don't think you can go wrong with either. And if you like any of these, then of course we can build a custom bike on this frame set or any other Colnago or Pinarello frame set, maybe even Trek. So you can have your dream bike rolling. That's all for today and this video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.